Hi, welcome to the audio review of Understanding Participants as Consumers. As we looked at early in the semester, we discussed how sport marketing can be changed and looked at differently. We looked at customer marketing versus consumer marketing. One thing we're going to look at this year is this idea of how our consumers may be different. One that we've all done is go to games as spectators. This chapter, we're going to look at participant consumers. How do we attract participants? We're a fitness center. We run a golf course. We manage a ski resort. We are looking to get more youths to play soccer or baseball. We do a fitness center. We do many different aspects. But this key, our consumer are participants in what we do. So what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at actions performed when searching for, participating in, and evaluating sport activities that consumers will believe will satisfy their needs. Marketing is satisfaction equals wants and needs. Here we're looking at satisfaction of needs. How do people decide what sport they want to play? Sport participants constitute a large and very growing market in the United States and internationally. We're looking at demographic trends that tend to show our population is getting older, but also they're being much more active. How can we tap into those changing populations? We also see that traditionally we are less playing and more organized activities. The paradigm of entering into sport used to be something similar to the movie Sandlot, where you see a bunch of kids playing on their own, organizing their own game, deciding who's on which team, deciding safe and out, playing games and organizing themselves, running it and managing themselves. Now we're looking at a lot more organized. If people want to play a sport, instead of staying outside and playing with their friends, we're going and joining them into soccer leagues or little league. We need to understand why consumers participate in certain sports and what the benefits are for participation. Again, it's a social science aspect to it. We are looking for information of why people do things so that we can better predict and manipulate that behavior in the future. We're going to look at the decision-making process. And this is a decision-making process for just about anything we do, not solely in sport marketing and participation. We're going to go through the 5 following steps. Problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, actual participation or purchase, and then post-participation or post-purchase evaluation. First step, problem recognition. We need to understand that there is a problem, that there is a discrepancy between our desired state and our actual state. It is 11:30 in the morning. I feel hungry. I would like to be full. I am now hungry. Perhaps this problem recognition is told to us through advertising. Maybe advertising is showing us that we're not healthy enough or in shape enough or don't look a certain way. Anything that decides there's that problem, that there's something that we want to be and something that we actually are. When we go through the next 4 steps, we can either take them very slowly or go very quickly, depending on a couple of different areas. The size of the discrepancy. Is there a big difference between what we are and what we want to be? Will our solution solve it quickly? The relatively importance of the problem. Perceived risk inherent with making the wrong decisions. Think, when you're looking at these, the difference between buying a car and buying a candy bar. If you're buying a candy bar, is there really a big importance to the decision? If you choose the wrong candy bar, have you really failed? Do you really have a big risk? No. So when you go and you're looking at the candy aisle, do I want a Hershey bar or a peanut butter cup or Snickers? You narrow it down to things that you like and then you pick one. It's not that big of a deal. If you're told by your employer to spend $5 million and upgrade our computer systems and you don't get the right one, is there a risk with that? There's certainly a huge risk with that wrong decision. So we look at whether we want to go fast or slowly, depending on that size of the difference or the importance of the problem. If there's a lot of risk in making the wrong decision, we're going to want to take our time. So we know our problem. We are hungry. We want to get into shape. We would like to go skiing for vacation. Whatever the difference is, we want to play in a basketball league. Then we go through an information search. We want to seek relevant information which will help solve the problem. We can go through internal sources, our own memories and experience. If I want to think about where I want to go for skiing during a winter break, I can think of my own experiences and my own memories and start, okay, I liked going to this place, or I went to this place and it was good or it wasn't good. If I want to play basketball, I want to think about the different leagues that I played in before. Maybe I played in a competitive league run in town, didn't really like it. Maybe I like the student run league. I want to think about my own memories and experience. I want a computer system. Well, what have I used in the past? Or candy bars. I think about Halloween and the different types. I liked Snickers. I didn't like York peppermint patties. Whatever it is, it's internal. It's my own memories. I can collect information by going through external sources. I can call people I know, family and friends. If I'm looking to buy a new car, I've had my cars. That's internal. Maybe I go and call my father or brother-in-law or cousin or a person at the office. Hey, what kind of car did you buy last? Did you like it? I've never heard of that brand, or I've heard of the brand, but I've never bought a Honda, a Toyota, a Ford, whatever it be. Tell me about your experiences with it. I can go through marketing sources, advertisements. I can go and talk to a salesperson. I can go on websites and find out more and more information. I can go through experiential sources. I can go and try it. If I'm looking to join a gymnasium, oftentimes I will be given a free pass, maybe one time, maybe for a week. And I can go and try the different fitness facilities, work on the machines, play basketball, go run on their track, get information in order to make my decision of what I want to join in terms of a fitness center, car to buy, candy bar to buy. Knowing this, how does that help a sport marketer? Knowing that people look for information and collect information and ask friends and go to websites, how does this help me? Helps me tremendously. If I know where people are looking to gather information, I can now put my company in that place. If I know people go to a certain website, skiinnewyork.com, and I'm looking to get more people to ski at my resort that's in New York, I want to advertise there. I want to create a web page there that is so engaging that I know people are going there for information, that they're going to come to my resort. If I know people are asking family and friends and word of mouth, I need to make sure that my reputation, my brand image is so high that people are spreading the good news about my group. If I know where people go to get their information, I want to be there. That helps tremendously with that idea of I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of places to waste my communication source. If I know people go to Twitter for information, I'm going to be on Twitter. If I know people do not go to Facebook for information, then I'm not going to waste my time developing a great Facebook presence. I need to know what the target audience, what my consumer is doing in order to be there. I collect all this information. I have my own history. I went online, found different websites. I've collected different things. I've asked different people. Now I evaluate my alternatives. I think about what's important to me, what features and characteristics. Maybe I'm looking to play basketball, and the criteria will be depending on, I want to play on a team sport, maybe in a competitive league. Maybe I can't play on Tuesdays or Thursday nights. I now have a criteria. If I'm looking at skiing, maybe I want it to be more than 2 hours away from me. I don't want to do something that I've done or can do very often. I want to take a special trip. Maybe I want to stay overnight. Maybe I'm looking for something with childcare and something to do for kids. Or maybe I want something without kids and something with, more of an evening entertainment aspect, more restaurants and social aspects. Maybe I look for my candy choices. Do I want chocolate? Do I not want chocolate? Do I want something sweet? I look at what my alternatives are, and I think about the criteria. What benefits do I want, and what costs do I want to avoid? Satisfaction equals benefits minus costs. What benefits do I want, and what costs do I want to avoid so that I derive as much satisfaction as possible? We want to ensure that our sport or our product is invoked in what's known as the included in what's known as the evoked set of alternatives. The evoked set of alternatives. If I ask a person, come up with, you need a new pair of sneakers, think of 3 different brands. What 3 brands come to mind? If we're talking about going to eat lunch, let's go figure out where we're going to eat. What 3 or 4 places come up? Maybe it's local, maybe it's national. What type of place? Where do you want to go skiing? Where do you want to go on vacation? That's that evoked set. That's the set that comes to mind. If we can get in that evoked set, if people can automatically name our brand, then our advertising is paying off, because a lot of people won't go through that information search very deeply unless there's that high perceived risk of failure. If you're buying a computer system for your organization, you're going to collect a whole lot of information. You're going to go out and collect information and ask people questions and derive new information, new data. If you're just buying sneakers or going skiing, you may just do on an internal source or maybe an external source a quick web page, or maybe ask some people. That evoked set. We want to get that brand identity high enough that we're in that evoked set. Then we have participation. We have purchase. And once we start doing that, we may have additional questions and additional decisions to make. If we decide to play basketball, we have additional decisions. Where to play? What type of clothing? If we're going to play basketball and we're playing on an intercollegiate level, our choice of shoe is probably going to be very different than if we're just playing basketball at the fitness center to stay in shape, or if we're asked to play on an intramural recreation team that meets 1 day a week, or a church league. If we're playing softball for an intercollegiate athletic team, we're probably spending $700 or more on a bat. If we're playing softball for a church rec league again, maybe we spend $30 on a new bat. Maybe we buy our cleats if we are on an intercollegiate team at a very high-end place, because we're going to use them a lot. They're important to us. If we're playing on a rec league 1 day a week, maybe we go to a discount store and just get something that we know probably isn't as high a quality, but certainly is much more affordable. We are social creatures. We gain a sense of identity from the way we see us and how others see us. We tend to buy products that reflect our interests and value. We look at a lot of people participating in the fitness center and they're dressed up. They wear high quality, they like the brands. If you go to a 5K race, maybe we see people who run very fast wearing very expensive clothes. Also, people run very slowly, maybe more fashion conscious. So there's a psychographic aspect to this participation as well. We want to look at that post-participation, that post-purchase evaluation. We want to make sure that that satisfaction equals benefits minus costs. One of the costs. Do we have buyer's remorse or cognitive dissonance? Is there worries or doubts? Did I make the right decision? If I bought a candy bar, rarely do we leave and say, you know what? I bought Hershey this time. I should have bought peanut butter cups. We don't get that way because the perceived risk isn't that great. If we buy a new car, if we buy a computer system for our organization, now we may have buyer's remorse. Did I buy the right product? Did I join the right league? Did I take my family on the right vacation to ski? This cognitive dissonance affects and impacts future participation, because if it's not a high level of satisfaction, people will talk about how poor that decision is. Social media, a lot of people will blog or post responses and reactions and reviews based on a negative interaction with that product. We can minimize this by having different aspects. We can follow up with a lot of questions. Maybe we spent $5 million on a new computer system. Maybe we have somebody go and actually install that. Maybe we have our installer come back after 2 days and make sure people know what they're doing. Maybe we train people on it in their home. Maybe we sell a brand new car to somebody and we give them free oil changes for 2 years. Not just are we being nice to them and getting them used to coming back, but we're able to talk to them every 3 months when they come for an oil change. For the price of an oil change, which may be $5 out of pocket, we're now able to get a lot of information. We're face to face with our consumer, and we can start asking them questions. How is the car going? There's a little rattle, or it feels like it's pulling. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's try to solve the problem when it's little, as opposed to not seeing that consumer and having the consumer have a product that we could fix, but continue to have trouble with it and have a negative review written about it. What kind of cognitive dissonance? We can do warranties. We can do, we can guarantee our product. We can give free trials. We can try to increase that satisfaction, increase the benefits if something goes wrong. We want to minimize those costs. We want to minimize cognitive dissonance wherever we can. And depending on that perceived risk, or depending on the number of times people go through this consumer decision process, might label the type of the decision itself. Something that's habitual, something that we do a lot. Where do you want to go to lunch today? Maybe you are a consistent runner. Where do we want to run? Or you're buying running shoes, 2 or 3 times a year. Your information search is going to be mostly internal. Things that you've decided before. A lot of times, you're not going to go out and get a lot of brand new information. Limited problem solving. So if there's something with few alternatives and very few criteria, you don't really care a whole lot about the decision. You want to make a good decision, but the perceived risk isn't very great. Now you're doing a limited external search. Or is it an extensive problem where it's exhaustive? You're doing a lot of external. Your employment is based on you spending $5 million of the company money and buying a new computer system. You're spending $40,000 on a brand new car. Those are decisions that are going to be high internal and external information search. You're going to collect a lot of information. Your buyer's remorse will be high. You have a high level of cognitive dissonance. You need the manufacturer and the retailer to reach out to you in order to make sure that you feel comfortable that you've made the right decision. So here's a list of the participant consumption behavior. We're going to look at different internal factors, at information search. We're going to look at some external factors and how they fit into those 5 different steps of the participant decision-making process: problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, participation, post-participation. We're also going to look at how situational factors impact that decision-making process. For instance, we look at some internal or psychological processes: the personality, motivation, learning, perception. External, like culture, social class, reference groups, or family. And we'll flesh out that situation factors: the physical surroundings, social surroundings, task definition, time, and antecedent states. Internal, we can look at some personality. Our personality is a set of consistent responses. If we're looking to figure out what type of sport a person is going to play, we can look at their personality. Are they ambitious? If they're ambitious, then they're probably going to play at a very high level or want to play at a high level. If a person has risk-taking in their personality, they're going to kind of skew towards a more risky type of sport, maybe rock climbing, maybe skydiving, maybe scuba diving with sharks, something specific in there. If they're risk averse, they're probably not going to do that type of sport. Family oriented, people are going to play maybe more rec league. Maybe they're going to do something with people that they know and have grown up with, as opposed to being more perhaps adventuresome, enjoying a team or a league or sport where they have to meet new people. Are they self-confident? So we look at some of these different areas and we can see a personality. Maybe we're designing a triathlon, and triathlon research basically shows 2 different areas. One is a very communal triathlon, maybe something more family oriented, something where we are all going to achieve this together. Or a triathlon could be more dominant, maybe more the Ironman type, where it is competitive, where we're looking at people trying to achieve something that they've never achieved before, maybe running their first Ironman distance triathlon or for time. So we look at what type of sport we have really begins to show us what type of audience we may be offered to and participating in our event. We can look at our psychological processes, our motivation. Milne showed that we look and participate in different things, one to improve, then to appreciate, and then for social facilitation. Are we playing in a sport just to meet people, to have fun, to do recreation aspect, and intramurals? Or are we doing that because we want to win? Or do we play a sport or watch a sport because we love running or love the feeling of gliding across ice? So we're ice skating. Why are we playing basketball? Is it to stay in shape? Is it to be with our friends? Is it because we want to get better at it? Is it because we want to compete at a very high level? So we look at Milne. We can look at Maslow with the physiological, the safety, the social, the ego, and the self-actualization. And as we move up the Maslow hierarchy of needs, we're moving into a sport that we want to dominate, one that we want to compete at a very high level. If we're looking at participating in a sport just for health reasons, it's physiological. So why are we? What is our motivation of participating in the sport? If we're doing it for health reasons, then our communication to that audience needs to be, this is healthy, this is fun, it's non-competitive. Our perception of the sport, our perception is selecting, organizing, interpreting stimuli. Perhaps we look at yoga and perceive it as feminine. And we may either want to participate or not participate in yoga because we perceive it in a certain way. Is it a feminine sport? Perhaps. If anyone who's done it, it certainly isn't easy. If you are a football player or if you are, pride yourself on being, very masculine and you try yoga or Pilates, the first couple times you do it, you are going to be very sore. We look at selective attention, that we focus on specific stimuli based on personal need and attitudes. If we are in the market to buy a car, we're going to pay more attention to car advertisements on television. If we are skiers, we are going to spend more time finding out and being interested in ski-related information. If we are runners, one of the great places to advertise running shoes or running destinations or events would be a runner's magazine. We have a specific target audience that enjoys our sport and their selective attention will be high. If I'm a big runner, I'm going to be interested in finding information out about running shoes. Now my communication on my running shoe is going to be specific in how is it going to make me a better runner? And I can get very technical and I can use that specific jargon that I would understand. If I'm not a runner and I'm trying to sell running shoes and it's more fashion, I'm going to be featuring different product attributes, maybe the color, maybe the fact that it's cheap or it's available in this place, maybe it's fashionable. So we selectively pay attention to different stimuli. We do that perhaps with people. We know certain people talk to us, maybe our parents. We need to pay attention to them or look at their email or pay attention to them on Twitter or whatever it would be. We pay attention to people differently. We interpret information differently based on our experiences or our attitudes. Maybe we see an ad for a certain running sneaker and we've had that sneaker in the past and we say, they're lying. It's not that good. Or maybe we disagree with their politics or their manufacturing abilities and how they build their shoes and distribute it. So we automatically discount what they do. Or we go the other direction. Maybe we see a basketball shoe that a very popular player was an endorser. So now all of a sudden we interpret that that shoe is really good and perhaps is the best in that category because a very good player gets paid to wear it. Psychological, our perception. We retain certain information. We selectively bias our information to confirm what we believe in. We may retain certain information that supports or confirms that bias that we have. for that running shoe, for that ski resort, for that fitness center, or we discount that information to confirm the bias that we have maybe for or against it. We learn specifically. We learn differently. As marketers, I need to understand how people will become indoctrinated into my sport. If I am trying to get people into my fitness center, I need to know how are they going to learn? How are they going to permanently change their behavior? Do they need to learn by doing? Do I need people to come into my fitness center and participate? Is this a type of sport that cannot be learned just by watching? We did a rollout for Rollerblade, the inline skating company, and we found out that people were amazed at the new inline skates as opposed to the traditional 2x2. But in order to increase sales, we had to get people in the boot and actually skating. So we had to set up different places around the country and have people go and try it. Come to my ski resort on Christmas and ski for free. Come to a basketball game against a non-rival that isn't going to be sold out for a lower price ticket and try it. Come to my fitness center, try my new yoga class or my MMA class or whatever it be. Try it. Learn by doing. Or do we learn through a cognitive aspect? Am I already involved in that sport and now I want to learn more and I can reason and read about it and think about it? Maybe I'm a big scuba diver and I don't need to learn to scuba dive anymore, but maybe somebody's trying to sell me on a new tank or a new location for a scuba dive trip. And now that information is going to be very specific. I can read it. I can understand it more. I learn by reading. I learn by reasoning or thinking about it. Or am I a social learner? I watch how others are rewarded or punished. Maybe growing up, our choice of favorite team was based on our parents. Maybe we saw mom or dad rooting for one team and really getting excited when that team won. So we begin thinking, if I root for that team, I'm going to be excited. My parents and I are going to share an experience. Maybe I see my older brother play basketball and my parents get very excited when he plays basketball and does well. I'm now more inclined to play basketball. Behavioral, cognitive, social, different ways that we learn. Again, as sport marketers, if we know how people learn, now I know how I need to present my information and get them to understand what I'm trying to communicate to them. It may not all be cognitive. It may not be enough to just advertise or social learning and do a television advertisement where I can see people doing things. I need to understand that psychological process of how people learn. I need to know their attitudes, how they believe, that learned thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Perhaps it's a belief in cognitive aspect or affective where it's based on feelings. All these beliefs and these attitudes, they may be right and they may be wrong. Somebody may have an attitude where bowling is expensive or bowling is for old people, that the belief may not be correct. That is irrelevant. If somebody believes it, we have a difficult obstacle to overcome. Is bowling expensive? I think most people agree that as a sport, certainly as a participation sport, bowling is not expensive. In fact, it's shown to be very inexpensive, something that people can do. Is it for old people? That perception, that belief, that attitude may be difficult to overcome. So we need to know what their attitude is. We need to know what people think about in order to start changing that attitude. People think bowling's expensive. We need to show them that it isn't. Bowling's for old people. We need to show them that young people didn't do it. People hate bowling. It's a boring sport. All those attitudes may come from an internal source. Maybe I hate bowling because it's a boring sport. Maybe you went bowling once as a 5-year-old for a birthday party. And the situation was, for some reason, you felt disengaged from the birthday party. Maybe everyone else was having fun but me. So in my memory, in my attitude, I connect the sport of bowling with that idea that I didn't have fun. Whether I didn't have fun because of the bowling is irrelevant. I connect bowling with not having fun because I was at a birthday party and I didn't have fun. Wherever we get that attitude, if that's what people believe about our product, maybe about our sporting equipment, it isn't as a high quality as something else. Maybe that's because the other people have a large marketing budget and they have a popular person endorsing it. It doesn't change that attitude. The truth doesn't change it. We need to know what the attitude is so we can begin to overcome it. We can look at external factors or sociological factors like a culture, the learned values, beliefs, languages, traditions, and symbols shared by a people passed down from generation to generation. As a culture, we can look at different sport. You know how important surfing is to Hawaii or Polynesian culture. We can look at soccer with Brazil. We can look at baseball in Cuba. We can look at very specific sport with different cultures and see a connection. We can see social class, a homogeneous division of people in a society sharing values, lifestyles, and behaviors. You know, the determinants of social class tend to be occupation, income, and education. We can look at, white collar or blue collar, and we can divide up. We can look at different social class. We can look at this in terms of auto racing, where F1 or Grand Prix may be considered, at a higher social class because it's more expensive or because of who is sitting around us. NASCAR traditionally looks at more maybe blue collar or middle class. It did move up a little bit over time. Lower class, maybe the lesser division NASCAR, or maybe an NHRA or your local dirt tracks. Same general sport, auto racing, different social class, different external factors. Maybe golfing. You look at a very exclusive country club like an Augusta National, very high social class. Maybe a little bit below that would be a local country club versus a local public golf course, maybe a pitch and putt, maybe a municipal course. So we're looking at different types of areas, same sport, golf, different social class interacting with it. We look at external factors. How do we pick and choose our sport? Our reference groups. Our family and friends. Maybe our mom was a big runner and our dad played baseball. We are more inclined to play that. Maybe when we were in elementary school or junior high, all of our friends went out for soccer. We went out for soccer because of that. We look at aspirational reference groups. The reason why we get people to endorse different products, why athletes make tens of millions of dollars endorsing products, is because we aspire to be them. We, at a subconscious level, see a basketball player endorse a certain basketball shoe. We get that shoe because we think that that's a better shoe than something else. We forget that they're getting paid for it. Oftentimes, certainly early in the endorsement world, people would get paid to endorse one brand of shoe and they'd actually wear a different brand. Some of our very, very popular endorsers over time who've made hundreds of millions of dollars would take one brand image, maybe their logo, and stitch it on the shoe of another product because they liked that other shoe. They thought that other shoe was better, something they'd grown up with, something they're used to, but they're getting paid to endorse a different brand. I'm going to put that logo on it. And family, heavy influence of what sport we want to play. Perhaps your parents, without telling you, directed you to a sport. Maybe they wanted you to play football because they thought that that would be a very a specific image that they would want for you to have. Maybe they directed you away from hockey because they know that hockey tends to ask a lot of parents. You see hockey carrying around a lot of equipment, and the parents tend to carry that equipment and it's expensive to get ice time, and they're driving all weekend long to go to tournaments and games, and maybe they didn't want to do that investment for your sport. However, they didn't discourage you. They didn't say you couldn't play it. However, maybe they didn't really encourage you to do it. When winter sports would come up, they would say, do you want to play basketball or indoor something and this and this, and or hockey, and kind of minimize that type of sport. Situational factors. Factors that temporarily affect participation. Your physical surroundings. We're right now in a college in upstate New York with a lot of mountains around us. Obviously, the winter here is very snowy, so it directs us to a very specific outdoor downhill and Nordic skiing. In some places around the country, the upper Midwest, where it gets very, very cold and they don't have a lot of mountains, very, very cold when you're young. Maybe you do a lot of hockey because the ponds and lakes will freeze over. Maybe as you get older, you don't want to spend a lot of time outdoors in that environment. So maybe you're indoors doing ice skating or curling. Your physical surroundings of Florida with the Gulf and the Atlantic, you're doing some sport fishing. California with the big waves, you're doing surfing. Maybe in the high mountains in Idaho, you're doing whitewater rafting. You're doing fly fishing in Montana. So where you are, the location, weather, and physical aspects direct what type of sport you can play. Your social surroundings, who you're with, your friends may direct different type of sport. Maybe you have a group of friends that you golf with and a different group of friends you play football with, or you're friends with certain people who root for the same team that you do, so you go and play or watch those sports. Situational factors, your task definition, the reasons why you want to participate. Are you a high-level person in that sport? Are you a nationally ranked or world-ranked competitor? Your equipment and your investment, your travel is going to be much greater than somebody who's doing it just to stay fit or somebody who's just doing it to connect to friends. What type of family structure, what stage of family life are you in? Are you married with children? Now your sport participation may be coaching or volunteering or refereeing. Maybe you have kids, so you're going to be spending more time downhill skiing with them and not doing black diamonds. Maybe you have work responsibilities now, so you can't spend all day running or playing basketball, so you do after work things. So your time and your changes to your family structure of where you are. Married, you're going to do different things with your spouse because now we're going to do things together, as opposed to being single, that you have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more independence. Your antecedent states, how you feel prior to you participating, your mood. Some people use sport as a stress reliever. Maybe some people are so wound up that they have to go to the gym a couple of times a week and either work out pretty hard because you're stressed out, or maybe some people need a more relaxing fitness area. I get stressed out, so I'm going to go do yoga a couple times a week. Or a different person with the same type of stresses may be more aggressive. I need to play basketball or do something physical in order to work out my stress. As we know these different factors, and as we know these different participant decision-making process, we as marketers can present our information more effectively once we know what the consumers are looking for. Thank you.